Hey everybody, it's that time of year again. The aspens are a brilliant gold. My scrub oaks are turning orange. It's fall. Time to think soups. And today's soup is going to involve this. Earlier this week, I was in charge of making the soup of the day, and I made mushroom soup. I love mushroom soup. It's delicious, it's hearty, kind of sticks to your bones a little bit. Just a great soup. Now, today I've got a variety of mushrooms. Well, two. Two's a variety, I believe. I've got these Criminis. Now, there is a wide variety of names for these Criminis. You got brown mushrooms, you got Criminis. I've seen baby bellas. I've seen, of course, portobellas. What is a portobella? Big version of these. Same mushroom, same flavor. Okay, so we're going to dice these up, but first we're going to start off cooking off some mirepoix. Well, onion. And I'm going to grab some celery and we're going to put that in there too. I'm just going to take the ends off. Now mind you, I am not going to get overly concerned about how fine a chop or how fine a dice that I'm using here, because I'm going to puree it all. So I'm not going to be very concerned about it. I'm just going to hack this up. It goes in the pot. You got to turn the pot on though. And I'm going to sweat this out. A little bit of olive oil. Just a touch of salt. I'll save the pepper for later. Time to get the celery. Just one stalk. Again, I'm not going to be overly concerned on how fine of a dice I'm using here. That's a little bit warm. I'm starting to hear a little bit too much sound going on in there. I'm going to turn it down. Now to start thinking about our mushrooms. These are washed. I got some buttons. I've got the Criminis. I'm just going to hack these up just a little bit. I don't want anything too fancy. Don't need that. I'm going to save a couple of these Criminis. We're going to use that for garnish later. Okay, all my mushrooms are hacked up. This has been sweating for a bit. Not quite translucent or whatever you want to call that, but they're cooked. They got a head start. We're developing a little bit of flavor in here. We're going to let that go a few more minutes because I want to. That's why. Okay, it's time to get the mushrooms in there. Again, I didn't chop these up very pretty. Don't need to. I'm going to puree it. And we're going to cook these mushrooms just a little bit, and while that's happening, I'm going to cut up some garlic. I'm going to think maybe 3, 4 cloves. I like garlic. If you don't like garlic, don't worry about it. This is going to be a great soup without the garlic. And all I'm really going to do is just smash them up a bit. Quick chop. Again, it's all going to get pureed. Now we're going to cook these mushrooms until they start giving off their water and then reabsorbing. Oh, by the way, you did wash your mushrooms, right? Now while that's happening, I'm going to slice these up for my garnish. Going about, not too much. I'm going to put the ends in here though. I'd say a little over a healthy 1/8 of an inch, or maybe 2-3 millimeters for you metrically minded. And we'll set those aside. I'm gonna roast them off, give them a lot of love, and we're gonna float them on there for the garnish. You'll like it. It'll look pretty. And making pretty food is fun. We like pretty food. Okay, so the mushrooms have cooked down a little bit. Time to add a little more flavor. If you've got Madeira, use Madeira. I've got sherry, so I'm just gonna put 1/4 cup of sherry in there. Now you want to let this cook, just to burn off a little bit of that alcohol. Now the thing is, you're not gonna burn off all the alcohol, so if you don't do alcohol, don't worry about it, just omit it. But I'm gonna let that cook down just a little bit. Again, we're building flavor upon flavor upon flavor. So I want that to pretty much cook off. We'll keep an eye on that. And now I'm also going to give it a couple of good grinds of pepper. And just a little bit more salt. We got those mushrooms in there and we haven't seasoned those yet. 1/2 teaspoon if you wanted. So if you got Marsala, that's what you want to use. But like I said, sherry, Madeira, those are good too. Okay. So I'm not smelling that bite from from the alcohol. Time to add our other liquid in. I've got chicken stock. Yeah, store-bought's fine. If you got your own, use that too. I want just enough to cover the mushrooms by just a little bit. And of course they're gonna float, but we're going to quart. So we'll bring this to a boil and we're gonna let it simmer for about 15, 20, 30 minutes. Not gonna take long, because all we gotta do is cook those mushrooms through, and that won't take long at all. So let's talk about our garnish here. Remember I saved these sliced criminis? I'm gonna roast them off. But first I'm gonna hit them with a little bit of flavor. I got some chopped tarragon, a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper. Fresh ground's nice. These are inexpensive. No excuse not to have one. We'll toss them in this, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil down on my pan, just to coat. Spread that around, and then I'm gonna lay out my mushrooms. Now these are going to go into my toaster oven for about, I'd say 5 minutes at about 350 degrees, maybe 10. I'll let you know how long it takes. Okay, my garnish is done. They're nice and brown on the edges, exactly what I wanted. We'll just set these aside. Then we'll turn our attention to this. Now mind you, that took about 10 minutes. This has been going about 20 minutes. Let's add some flavor. Well, cream. I'm gonna probably go with about a pint. Yeah, that's a lot, but it's good for you, I think. It's not gonna be cream and mushroom soup without cream. If you wanna use half and half, you can. Milk lovers, splurge. It's not like you're gonna be eating this all day. Well, I will be, but you know. I'm going to throw in a little more tarragon. We got tarragon on our garnish. This is, I'd say, maybe a tablespoon of whole leaves. That's just going to go in there. Remember, we're going to puree this. Okay, that's simmered for another 5 minutes. I'm going to turn this off. It's time to puree it. I'm going to use a stick. You can use a bar blender or whatever you want. I wouldn't use a food processor. That would make a huge mess, but if you wanted to use a blender, that's fine. I'm going to use the immersion. Okay, it's pureed. Let's taste it. Well, first thing I notice, it needs to be thickened a little bit. We'll do that in a little bit, but we're going to taste it first. Flavor's pretty good. Use a little more salt. A lot of pepper. Now, I think I want to waken the flavors up just a little bit. I got just a little bit more sherry. I may use just like a half an ounce. And I've got sherry vinegar. This is good stuff. We'll start off with a half ounce of that also. Since you put the alcohol in there in that sherry, we're going to need to cook it just a little bit to get that alcohol flavor out of it. Because we want the flavor of the sherry, not the flavor of the alcohol. And again, you don't do alcohol, don't do sherry. Just do the sherry vinegar. We'll bring that up to a simmer, 5 minutes or so. While that's going on, I'm going to consider thickening. Okay, that's gone about 5 minutes on a simmer. Let's thicken it up, and then we'll do our final seasoning. Because, well, it's going to taste different after it's thicker. That's the way it is. So I've got about 3 tablespoons of arrowroot. Why do I use arrowroot? Because that's what I have. You can use cornstarch. Cornstarch is fine. If you really wanted to, you could do potato flour. That'll work. Those are good gluten-free options. If you don't mind the gluten, you could use a roux. Of course, a roux being equal parts fat and flour cooked together. But if you're gluten-free type people, stick with the arrowroot or the cornstarch. And they're both readily available in most supermarkets. Well, I know the cornstarch is. Arrowroot's getting there too. I think it needs a little bit more. And again, this is about 3 tablespoons of arrowroot. I mixed it in with enough water just to make it liquid. And then I'm just going to pour in a little at a time until I get to the thickness I want. I think I'm going to throw it in because I like it a little bit thick, but not too thick. If you like it thicker, you can add more. That's up to you. There, I think that's about perfect. Okay, let's give it one final taste and we'll see where we're at. Thickness looks good. Flavor's good. I got the sherry and the sherry vinegar coming through nicely. The tarragon is in the background, but it's there. And the mushrooms, well, they're singing lead. Okay, let's bowl this up. Get a ladle. Couple of nice scoops. Wipe down my mess. For garnish, I've got some fresh tarragon that I chopped up. Yeah, I did chop this up, unlike the other tarragon. Give it a nice grind of pepper. And we'll float one of our mushrooms on there. There it is. Creamy mushroom soup. I did this the other day at work. We almost sold out, and I made 3 gallons. So while you're at it, check out these recipes here, and I'll see you next time. Oh, like, subscribe, smash all the buttons. Ingredients are down in the description. You know the drill. I'll see you next time.